Hello, and welcome back to the Sugar Mama podcast, where I talk about all things related to balancing your blood sugar. I'm Jennifer Hoppert, certified holistic nutrition therapist and owner of Produce Health Nutrition Company. Produce Health Nutrition creates corporate nutritional health and wellness programs that shows employees how to balance their glucose levels naturally, which leads to better overall health, less insurance and medical costs, and optimizes employee attendance and productivity. If you want to know more, please visit www.phncompany.com. Okay, in today's show, we will talk about insulin. I'm going to talk about what it is, where it comes from, what it does for us, how and why we may make too much insulin, and what the limitations of insulin are, why too much can be a bad thing. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the knowledge I am about to dump all over you. Let's get happy, healthy, and wise together. Okay, what is insulin? What is insulin? You hear a lot about it, right? But how many people really know? If you're not diabetic, you're probably not totally sure what it does. So I'll tell you, it's a hormone that is made in our pancreas. We have these little cells, they're called beta cells. They're inside our pancreas, which is kind of on our left side, sort of a little bit lower and behind our stomach. And when the blood sugar gets higher, these blood sugar molecules interact with the pancreas triggers the beta cells to make insulin. So insulin levels will rise in proportion to how much glucose is in our blood. So if the pancreas gets a message that there's a lot of glucose, the beta cells are going to make a lot of insulin, okay? So the more glucose in our blood, the more insulin's in our blood, right? And insulin addresses glucose. What it does for us, does a couple things. It's very important. We would die without it. Glucose is a good thing. But sometimes, insulin is a good thing. I'm talking about insulin. Sometimes we get too much insulin, right? And it becomes a problem. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So its main job is to get glucose out of our bloodstream and into our cells, right? The cells use glucose for energy. We need it to live, and not just to run a marathon, but we need it to wake up. We need it to, have the energy to think about what we're going to wear that day and walk down the stairs and make breakfast and read our emails. It's not just about exercise. Our cells would die without the glucose, and we would die without insulin. So it's really important. So not only does insulin get the glucose into our cells, it also gets the amino acids into our cells as well. And it assists the liver in converting extra glucose into triglycerides, which then get travel through our blood and get stored in distant fat cells for later use. Okay? Now, why and how do we make too much insulin? Well, like I said, insulin is proportionate to the amount of glucose we make, right? So if you have a lot of glucose, you have a lot of insulin. So over time, over an extended period of time, too much insulin can cause problems with our cells, and it's called, they become insulin resistant. So I did another analogy. I love my analogies. I think it was in episode 2 where I talked about insulin is kind of like, if you imagine like a nightclub, right? Remember back in our 20s, we used to go to nightclubs, go dancing, so much fun. So the nightclub, the building of the nightclub, trying to get my voice there. The building of the nightclub is like your cell. And the people waiting outside that want to go in, that's the glucose molecules. That's the sugar. And the doorman is insulin. Insulin is at the door, letting people in. So when the club fills up, right? People start coming, night happens, the people start coming, they get let into the club starts to get too full, and so the doorman says, hang on, let's wait till some other people leave, but people keep still coming, And the doorman's like, hey, you guys, we got a lot of people out here. Can you let some in? And sometimes it lets some people in, but when it gets too full, the club says, no more people. You got to wait till some other people leave. We're going to set them out the side door, and then you can let some new people in. Well, the doorman's watching more people come, and he's like, hey, can you fit anybody else in? And the cell's like, no, we can't. We're full. And so if the doorman keeps knocking, the cell's like, we told you. No, we are full. No more people come in until we're ready. And he knocks again. The cell's going to be like, okay, I'm not listening to lock the door. We'll tell insulin when we're ready. So the cells can become deaf to insulin, right? That's insulin resistance. They're resisting insulin's effect. That's a bad thing. That's a really bad thing. That's the start of diabetes. And then what happens? We get a lot of insulin in our cells. Now we're over the metaphor, the nightclub metaphor. Now we're back into the body. So when we have a lot of glucose and we have a lot of insulin, and insulin is trying to open the door to get glucose in, but the cells aren't opening the door, now you have a lot of insulin and a lot of glucose. That's a very bad combination. That can lead to mitochondria atrophy. It can also increase oxidative stress, which ages us and damages our systems and our tissues. It can also lead to excessive glycation and advanced glycation end products, which I call in episode 4 ages. So that's a bad thing. We don't want to have that, right? So insulin's limitations. Why too much is dangerous? Well, like I said, insulin is important. We need it. We would die without it. It's a good thing. But when you get too much, it can be destructive. And not a lot of people talk about that. They talk about why you shouldn't have your glucose too high, but they don't really talk about why your insulin also shouldn't be too high. See, insulin is a growth. It's a growth and aging hormone. Its main goal is to store nutrients. So it gets us glucose into the cells, and that's a good thing. But when it's always busy putting things into the cells, it doesn't let us take things out of the cells. And I'll tell you why that's a bad thing in a minute. High levels of insulin can actually increase 2 of the most common deadly diseases, heart disease and cancer. And that's because excess insulin can damage the genetic code of our cells, which can lead to more cancer cells growing. Insulin also encourages proliferation of cells, and we see that a lot in tumor formations. So some of the cells that are associated with high insulin that grow cancers are cells in the breast, the prostate, and the colon. They're all associated with high insulin levels. Okay? So like I said, insulin is a very important hormone. We need it. We just want to make sure we're not constantly making so much of it that our cells become resistant and we develop insulin resistance. So now we're going to have high insulin and high glucose. I mean, eventually, if you keep trying to produce excessive insulin, you're not trying, but your body is trying, then that can actually burn out those beta cells in the pancreas, and the pancreas can kind of burn out a little bit with that. And then you don't make that much insulin, and that is actually more like type 1 diabetes. So you really don't want that to happen either. So you really want to be able to, if you follow the link, you don't want your beta cells to burn out and stop making insulin. So stop stressing them so hard to make insulin. What stresses them so hard? A lot of glucose. Where does a lot of glucose come? It can come from stress, it can come from liver damage, it can come from the diet. So we then, if you're following my train, so then we make choices every day that help us to avoid excessive glucose. And that's exercise, and that's supplements that can help with that, but also nutrition and stress management. Okay, so I'm going to summarize everything I just said. Number 1, insulin is an anabolic hormone and is made in our pancreas. Its job is getting glucose out of the bloodstream and into the cell. Number 3, it's not just glucose. It will also get amino acids into the cell, and it puts fats into the fat cell. So number 4, the insulin will help the liver convert excess glucose into triglycerides. It kind of repackages them, and then it sends those triglycerides through the blood and stored in fat cells. Fat cells can expand greatly, so you can get a lot of that stuff in the fat cells. The problem with this is that those extra triglycerides are linked to cardiovascular disease. And also, when you have a lot of insulin in your blood, because insulin's job is to store everything away, get everything into the cells, you are not taking things out of the cells to burn it for energy, so you're not burning fat. And that's a big part of insulin that people don't really think about either. Okay. Number 5, excessively high insulin over a prolonged period of time can cause insulin resistance. That's when your cells don't accept any more insulin. They don't respond to insulin trying to get glucose into your cell. Insulin resistance is a major player in type 2 diabetes, right? So you want your cells to be insulin sensitive. You want them to talk to insulin all the time and work with insulin. You don't want them to ignore insulin, okay? And the last one, number 6, too much insulin as a growth hormone can raise your risk of developing other diseases like cancer and cardiovascular disease. Okay, so that just about wraps up my episode on insulin and how it has its limits. I hope you learned a lot today. And if you're ready to take control of your health and learn more strategies for balancing your blood sugar, please like, share, or subscribe to the Sugar Mama podcast so that you don't miss a single episode. Thank you so much for watching and tuning in to the Sugar Mama Show. Every little step you take is a step to a healthier you, so it's a step in the right direction. I'll see you on my next episode where we get happy, healthy, and wise together. Thanks a lot. Take care. So, if you're ready to take control of your health and learn more strategies for balancing your glucose levels, be sure to subscribe to the Sugar Mama podcast so you don't miss a single episode. And if you want more personalized support, head over to my website at www.phncompany.com. You can also join my 12-week program where I work with you closely every step of the way, week after week, each week introducing a new aspect of healthy living for balanced glucose. You can also follow me for more tips and information on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Alignable. Thanks so much for tuning in to my episode. I'm so excited to be part of your health journey and have you part of my journey with my podcast. So stay tuned for future episodes to keep your blood sugar in check. Let's get happy, healthy, and wise together.
Jennifer Hoppert is a holistic nutrition therapist, master certified in the state of Colorado. Holistic nutritional therapists are not medical doctors and legally are prohibited from diagnosing, prescribing, or treating disease. Any information you receive from this podcast show should not be assumed as medical treatment and should not replace any medical diagnosis, prescriptions, or treatments from your doctor. Consult with your physician before trying any new supplements or exercise routines.